love for music started when I was, I guess, about 12 years old, and that's the first time that I heard a piece of music called Rhapsody in Blue by George Gershwin. Prior to that point, I had taken piano lessons. It didn't really take. I didn't really like it. I thought piano was boring, and then I heard this piece of music, and it completely changed how I thought about piano and about music in general.
You've got presents.
Imagine and Benzes giving ends to my friends and it feels stupendous. Tremendous cream, $1 and a dream. Still tote gat strapped with infrared beams.
I had this idea in 2010. You know, I was experimenting a lot in this YouTube channel. I had like a very small but dedicated following. And I was starting to get my friends involved. You know, I wanted to get them in on this thing. And, you know, I would call them up and be like, hey, I got this YouTube channel thing. And they're like, what's YouTube? I'm like, it's this cool thing where people talk to you and you put up videos and they write weird stuff at you. I invited them over and I was like, okay, you know, here's what I think works on YouTube. We're gonna take a popular song, like a Lady Gaga song, Paparazzi, and we're gonna put a jazz spin on it. We're gonna do something different.
I'm your biggest fan, I'll follow you until you love me.
Jazz musicians are great. If you give them some charts or something like that, or some chord, you know, symbols and stuff like that, they'll be able to improvise over it and everything. So we just, basically it was a jam session. I mean, we were super, not precious about it at all. Like if there were mistakes, we left them in. My buddy, that's a saxophone player, was wearing like a Celtics jersey and he just jumps in front of the camera. It was just this whole weird thing. I think I just wanted something that sounded vaguely smart. I think I was just being pretentious and trying to, I don't know what those words mean. You know, when people say Postmodern Jukebox, oh, this meant because of that, I'm like, I just thought it sounded cool. But I thought that it kind of somehow signified what we were doing, which was taking genres, mashing them up, but basing everything in current pop culture.
Last Christmas, I gave you my heart, but the very next day, you gave it away.
We did it, and then we didn't really think about it. Of course, years later, that project took off, and Postmodern Jukebox became, you know, somewhat known all over the internet. When I first went viral with the Ragtime video, I didn't make any money off of it or anything, but I did see that there was potential to build something out of it. I didn't really know what that was, but I started just being consistent, putting out content, and I started getting more followers. Well, when I moved to New York City, I found that it was actually a lot more competitive than I thought. I was trying to be a jazz pianist, and I was making little demo CDs and going to restaurants and trying to get hired at places, and I wasn't having any luck, and I was pretty broke. And then I realized at a certain point, I could kind of monetize it by, if I put out an album, for instance, or if I decided to start a Kickstarter.
That's why we're turning to Kickstarter, to help us realize our dream of making the Motown tribute to Nickelback into a real band.
I did a Kickstarter for one of my projects that was called a Motown tribute to Nickelback. I found that if you can make a Kickstarter for that, you can make a Kickstarter for anything.
I've been wrong, I've been down, until the bottom of that bottom.
Gradually, I kind of built this following and started coming up with different projects, different ways to engage that fan base.
Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy, but here's my number, so call me maybe.
I paid everybody in falafel sandwiches early on, but I always found that everybody was really excited about the project, which I thought was so cool. I think that, particularly for singers, a lot of these singers that I work with were influenced by these older sounds, and they don't usually have an outlet other than doing the same old jazz standards to, you know, sing in this style. So it became kind of like a fun challenge for them to, you know, just the same way that I was approaching the arrangement, they were arranging their own vocals and figuring out how would this singer back in the day sing this song by Drake or Usher or whoever.
Shorty, I don't mind if you dance on a pole, that'll make you a hoe.
Welcome to the new living room. This is PMJ Manor, which is going to be the headquarters for all things Postmodern Jukebox. In the process of setting it up now, there's boxes, there's moving trucks everywhere, it's crazy. When I first moved to California, I decided to bring our most active people in the group out with me. And I figured we'd all rent a house together, just make music all the time, and it was going to be this like awesome summer camp. We were just going to do a summer residency out there, and it wound up being fraught with problems. A lot of it just because I didn't really plan ahead. I was used to kind of just jumping into things. I'm not really somebody that likes to plan things too far in advance. I had enough funds to cover the house, but not enough to get transportation for everybody. And it wound up, people wound up feeling like they were under house arrest, basically, in this house that was probably a porn house at one point in time. And we're just kind of stuck there. And this was supposed to be like our amazing summer abroad in California. So that was a real learning experience that it's fine to not plan things if it's just affecting me, but when it affects other people, then I really have to take them into consideration and make sure that they're taken care of. And so that was a very good learning experience for me. And as the project continued to scale, that was something that I kind of kept in mind the whole time.
Over small things, true care, truth brings.
Over the years, there was definitely a lot of people that thought that this was such a niche project that it wouldn't have any potential to take off. In fact, I was doing kind of an early version of it when I moved to New York, and I was sending demos to people, restaurant people and event planners, and be like, hey, I did this thing where I just turned songs into ragtime. And one of them actually point blank said to me, nobody wants to hear that stuff.
Don't they know it's the end of the world? 'Cause you don't love me anymore.
I decided I was going to take the summer off, just kind of recharge creatively, because I had been, season 1 of Postmodern Jukebox lasted 5 years, which is probably a long time for any kind of, whether it's a YouTube channel or a Netflix show or whatever. But I wound up actually going right back to work and coming up with creative ideas and, having to shoot them and having to call people over and come up with different video ideas and even coming up with another series. But the difference was that I didn't feel this pressure of a deadline. Before, I had this Thursday deadline that I always had to meet.
Hey folks, Scott Bradlee here. No new video this week, but I got 3 good reasons why.
And that meant that sometimes I had to rush things. I had to put things out before they were 100% ready. And kind of the benefit of taking this summer off, or quote unquote off, was that I got to spend more time and just get everything polished to my liking. And now I'm feeling really excited to come back with season 2. I think that that's been the most uplifting part of this whole journey, and that's when things feel real, when I get to connect with real people whose lives have been touched, who, have been inspired in some way. I mean, that's something that's beyond what I ever thought was possible. When I started this project, I was just trying to get a gig. I was just trying to get hired at restaurants. And that's really awesome to just see that it's impacted so many people around the world. And those are the moments that feel real. It's when you're meeting somebody and they're telling you what Postmodern Jukebox means to them, then that's like a good reminder of like, oh, that's why I do this.
As a teacher and a pianist, Scott has been a huge inspiration to me. I love the way he keeps jazz relevant, and as a musician, it's incredible to see the talent that comes through Postmodern Jukebox. It's been amazing to watch over the last few years. So Scott, thank you for everything that you've done.
Mr. Bradlee, thank you so much for all of the work you do. Singing your pieces has given my confidence such a huge boost, and it's also given me a new appreciation for jazz music. Thank you so much.
I'm from Spain. I love Scott Bradlee because he's unique and very authentic and amazingly talented, and I can't thank him enough for Postmodern Jukebox. Bye.
Hi, Scott. I can't tell you how much I admire your creativeness and your talent, but also your generosity in promoting other people. It takes a special person to do that kind of thing, and that's you. Love and a hug.
Hi there. My daughter was about 15 years old when she turned me on to Postmodern Jukebox, and I'm about 56 now. And I feel like that really tells you that Scott Bradlee's arrangements kind of pass the test of time, as they say, because teenagers and old folks like me both really appreciate his incredible talent and what he's doing for music.
I want to thank all those people that sent in those videos, and I wanted to tell them to keep going, and especially music teachers and everybody that is pursuing their own path in music. Yeah, you can do it. Just keep at it. I got your back.
Carry me home.